Um, Hi everyone, welcome back to Let's Heal. Igama lami ndingithuleka. Namhlanje sinoTony.
Hi.
And the conversation about healing continues.
Thank you for having me here. Healing is such an interesting topic because everyone has something to say about healing, which is why I want to ask you. I think we spoke a bit before about this, but for you, tell me what your understanding of healing is, and perhaps what healing means for you.
To me, healing is more than just healing trauma. I think that as a South African, in order for us to really heal, in order for us to really be able to live with one another at peace, we need to understand the historical events that continue to have an impact on us today. So I found myself asking the question, why are we healing? Because I hear, I see a lot of people are talking about healing. But I also see that as we talk about healing, as we heal, we are continuing to divide. People are cutting people off. And personally, I hate this word. I think it's healthy to say you are letting some people go in your life. And there's nothing wrong maybe with cutting people off. But I think even the way it sounds or the connotation of the word, for me, it's kind of harsh. So as I heal, when I speak of healing, or if I'm asking the next person to heal, it has to sound in a manner that is also healing. Saying that people are toxic and cutting people off, for me, it doesn't really, there's something that doesn't sit right with me about that. And I think because our healing is mostly focused around trauma, so trauma kind of makes us want to separate from others in order to deal with our trauma. And I think that we are healing from more than just trauma as South Africans. And I think it's not a surprise that as the rate of depression in South Africa increases, also gender-based violence increases, I think there is something common there that we are missing, that we are not seeing. I think there is something that is really, they kind of go together. It's just that there is something that is manifesting, but with other people it comes as depression, and others are experiencing it as maybe being violent. I don't know.
I find it really interesting that you mention how things like cutting people off and basically healing from a negative point of view, healing from a removal. It's not, some people may not see it as negative, but necessarily I don't think anyone in any form of way would positively heal from anything if they simply just cut it away. And this is also something which echoes what happened in South Africa when we transitioned from apartheid to democracy, and then we had the TRC, the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, where people, were given a chance to kind of speak about issues and get into healing and stuff like that, but it didn't really happen. Instead, what happened in that situation is that a lot of the actual healing was not done. It was rushed, and people who had actually done serious crimes did not necessarily feel remorse sometimes, and there was no genuine sense of healing, rather a sense of can we get over it as quickly as possible. And that's why a lot of the issues, this is just an example, but this is exactly how a lot of South Africa's transition happened, not just on the TRC, but a lot of people haven't really healed from issues that happened in the past, and they are still in a position where they are forced to just let it go almost. They are forced to just like, you know what, that's a toxic part of your being, you know, just cut that away, you know. You know, you guys were racist, just forget about that, you know. Just and in that, a crucial step of healing is lost. Because I think for me personally, to answer the question of what healing means, it's to find a way of restoring a sense of being able to be with people, you know, restoring community, restoring self, restoring the other. But it's a state of restoration, and you can't restore something by cutting it. You can prune, but it means you have to attend to it. You have to make sure that whatever it is you're dealing with, you are there and you are personally involved. You can never simply just cut something off. And I just think a lot of the healing has not been done because people, number one, cannot be in community together. They cannot be they cannot be in spaces with each other, even though they're forced to live with each other. They haven't done the healing to live with each other. They've just done enough to, you know, be able to trade, to be able to do X, Y, and Z. But there's a lot of deep issues that, you know, underlie, at least let me say, the black people of South Africa. And yeah, like you said, also you mentioned something that sometimes it manifests as different things, you know, when people haven't healed. And one of the things I think that happens in the African or the black societies that we find in South Africa is that the healing that doesn't happen becomes like a form of trauma, which develops into something else. Like it can become a form of violence, a form of you know, like bad behavior. But I think also I can understand it as a form of like you carry a certain bad energy, like it's a dark cloud, like it's nyama. Pretty much you carry it by virtue of the trauma, by virtue of not dealing with things, not because you are a bad person, but you haven't dealt with things, and then you find that even your own life has blockages you've never understood before. It's now we don't understood it's now. So it's crazy that you mentioned how these things then play out. It's not a simple thing of just like you're traumatized or you get depression or you get you know, one of the pathologies. It can be something just like you are unable to be with people, you are unable to keep a job, you are unable to, you know, find family because of these traumas. It runs quite deep. So maybe to ask the follow-up question, what do you think then is necessary in South Africa to heal people? Maybe do you think healing can also happen at individuals scales, or do you think it should happen at larger scales?
I think at larger, because even the existence of this very platform, it is not for me. When I started, I shared my story so that people can understand where I'm coming from. But I think in order for us to really heal, it needs to be a community thing. I think there is power in community than doing something just alone. For me, like ndingathatha umntanam ndimfundise everything that I am learning as I evolve, and ndithi ndiyamprotecta, but at some point uzohamba esikolweni, uzohamba ahlangane nabantwana who are coming from wounded families, and uzophele affecteka. So for me, that is the issue, ukuthi you don't heal and go to another planet of people that are healed and live peacefully there. We are healer, you go to therapy or you like whatever people do in order to heal, we do that, and then we come back to wounded communities, and we still have to be part of these communities. So it's kind of not really, like, for me, it doesn't really make sense to ukuthi ngiyenze into yami and cut other people off, or to separate from others. I think if we do it together, if we honestly speak about the issues that are leading us to healing as a community, then I think we will really get somewhere if siyenza kanjalo.
I really echo your words in that I feel you 100%. You can't really expect a person to go into one corner and get all the work done to heal and come back to an unhealed society and stay healed. That person cannot stay healed. In the very society they are, there's problems. So they will also then be affected by these problems, which will undo their healing. And I'm hearing underlying this a big call to just break down how we've understood healing, and especially the Western understanding of, one-on-ones with doctors, confidentiality. Yes, you need to respect confidentiality, but this idea of, it's only me and only I know about what's going on, and only I deal with this one person my whole life, and I see the same psychologist for 7 years straight, and it's a back and forth with one person. We can't value such systems anymore, because they simply do not work for broken communities. And in South Africa, we have to be honest, the societies, the communities themselves need healing, not just the individuals. So when we're using Western models of just privatization, one-on-one consultations, and all of these things, yes, they are still necessary, but alone they can't do enough. You really need to either supplement them with community healing or transform them to have a community impact. You need to have healing that operates on a level that even when I leave the space, wherever I am, my healing will affect more healing.
Yes.
It doesn't end between me and my psychologist, and I'm like, oh, thank you. We're making breakthroughs. These breakthroughs mean nothing if I leave the space and I'm in trouble again.
That is true.
We need to create healing sanctuaries in our own communities where people know that, okay, you know what? I'm safe here. As a person who has gone through trauma and undone the hurt of trauma, I'm safe here because I won't be undone. We don't have places like that. We have absolutely zero places like that. And the very few communities that stand up and try and do that, they are few and far in between. I personally can't even say it, like all of it. It's a vital thing to look at. Number one, how healing has been done, especially the Western model. Maybe that is it's also a matter of markets and capitalism, but still we need to have communal ways of healing. I'm sure Emandulo, back in the days with our they didn't have one-on-ones. Yes, maybe they did, but you go and consult, and then there'd be places where you can speak to the community and ask for help. Everyone knows, the issue that you're going through, and they understand you, so as to not step on your toes all the time. And yes, maybe it's hard because that's personal information. But if you really understand that your problem is not just yours, it's something which affects how you relate to people, then you understand the value of things like that.
That is true. And yes, when you said Emandulo, abantu would go and maybe ask for help. Like in Ndenzankumbule, like mina ukhulele emakhaya. Like la engikhulele khona, ubuyazi ukuthi which family, yeyiphi family that struggles, and like besisizana ukwazi ukuthi umuntu or ingane yakhona sometimes ubabize or invite them to have dinner ekhaya. Like it was, even though bebe struggle, but as a community no one was kind of judging umuntu ukuthi why ingena lutho, but bese understand ukuthi kulowa mzi like bayahlupheka or abanayo imali or kwenzeka lokhu, and then bekusizwana. I like that. And also when you spoke about indaba therapy and one-on-ones, I think what I have come to understand ukuthi therapy ibingenzelani. I think for me therapy was not a destination for healing, like we have to go for therapy and then that's it. I think for me it opened my eyes. It was like an eye opener, and now like after saying ngihambile ngaya ku therapy, I have these new eyes and umhlaba ngibuka ngenye indlela, and I am asking all these questions, and like ukuthi sibe lana njengamanje. It is also because of that ukuthi ngiyazibuza ukuthi why izinto ezithile sizenza kanjena. So I don't think healing should be hambia with therapy and then udile nalento ufuna udila kuyo. Like maybe we should ask ourselves ukuthi what are we hoping for now that you've gone for therapy. Like ucabanga ukuthi ikusiza ukuthi ube umuntu onjani. Because for me now I think like ngivule amehlo and like ikwazi ukungisiza ngikwazi ukuzi-express, but in terms of ukuheala, like my own, the healing part where you actually get to heal, it doesn't happen during one-on-one conversation and therapy. It's when you are on your own then that you really look at your life and your surroundings and begin to heal.
Oh, it's like, I have to be honest, really, like the way I'm also gathering what you're saying is like healing is obviously not something which has an end point, at one which you can see clearly, and you will constantly have to do more work beyond seeing someone. Even when you are with community, you will have to do more work. When you are alone, you have to do more work constantly. I think though it's vital to understand that all these are necessary pieces to one whole picture, you know? Without time for reflection on your own, without time with community, without time with intimate relation, like, well, let me not say relations, intimate conversations, like someone who you're consulting with or your therapist, you really need those to make the necessary kind of changes, like, and the way to change your outlook, like you said. For you, things like therapy help you see things, you know, and these are all necessary pieces to a bigger thing that's happening, a bigger picture that's happening. Healing is definitely a journey which even one who has healed has a responsibility now to show others almost, or at least like help others, because again, it's not something you gain as a reward for yourself. Healing is definitely like a fire which gives without losing anything. You know, fire, it really gives without losing anything, and healing should be like that. It shouldn't be something we're selfish with. It shouldn't be something we keep in corners for those with money only. We need accessibility when it comes to healing. This is why community spaces need to be healing spaces themselves, so healing is accessible to everyone, and not just to those who can get to, you know, the psychologist or can afford the rates, but everyone should have an opportunity. Because again, Emmanuel, thinking about things like when people would suffer, even not Emmanuel, when people suffer for when someone dies, our therapy is vula the house and have people come see us and retelling the story to everyone who comes here. retelling them the story, having them tell us their perspective, give us different perspective. We tell them the story, they cry with us, we go through the catharsis. Again, someone new comes, we tell them the story, they give us perspective. They, that is extreme therapy. No one really sees it like that, but it's replaying the events and re-looking at them, reflecting when you're on your own. Have someone come in, feel the community feeling, reflect on your own, and by the time you actually get to the funeral, you've told the story and you've grieved so much that you almost in acceptance. You can never accept it, but you almost in like, you know what? I've told the story so many times. I believe it fully with my every being and every fiber. I understand that this is a reality. Other people have come to comfort me, to show me that life does go on. Necessary key points of healing that were done by community. And those are vital. If we understand how those things work, we can put them in other spaces of our communities. If we understand truly like what healing is and how it's been understood even before the one-on-ones, before the privatization, there's so much we can do to heal people, especially making it accessible and just also, making it happen in the spaces where people exist. It doesn't happen in the corner, but it happens amongst your own people. Yeah.